Okay, so what's up, everybody? This is Emmanuel Paul, and I'm today going to review the Continental GT 650. So, so to start with, this bike is just fantastic. It is. I've done close to about 4,000 kilometers in this. It has been almost 28th of December to almost 2 months. If you can see, I don't know if you can see it here, but that's what it is. It's got 4,000 kilometers on it. So I'm going to give you a couple of pros and cons on this bike. I think first things first, I'm going to start with the comfort factor. This is the GT, so it's designed for some aggressive posture, and it's designed to go a little faster than the Interceptor. So the foot pegs, if you look at this, it's a little behind. The foot pegs for the Interceptor is somewhere over here. This is like right over here. So there are some issues with the foot pegs for this bike, especially with the Interceptor. When you sit down, the foot pegs actually come in the way of where your legs actually are footed on the ground. So if you can see, if I'm going to be sitting on this bike, I don't know if you can see. Uh, you see, I can keep my foot like very comfortable. The posture, the gear knobs, and the foot pegs are a little to the back. I don't know if you can see it in this video. So I can comfortably put my foot on the floor. So it's quite comfortable, at least in terms of traffic, to stand and so that nobody runs over your feet. That's to start with. Uh, Apart from that, the posture on the hands, it's a little leaned forward. So when you're going with two people, especially, what happens is the weight of the pillion falls onto you. So you basically have most of that weight falling on your hands. And if you can see, I've got there you go. You see that? This right here. So I've got some ruptures on my palm. Even though I'm using some gloves to ride. So that's the only inconvenience on this bike. I don't have any major back problems. I've been riding it to work every day, and I've done a couple of longs. So it's just brilliant. The twin cylinder gives you enough torque to keep it low on the highway. I mean, keep the RPM low and still have enough torque, and also it throws some good torque at the top. So in comparison to the Interceptor, I would still prefer the GT because the Interceptor, to me, is supposed to be a comfortable bike on the long. But I've got some good reviews on mixed reviews, I should say. The foot peg being one of the biggest issues. So coming down to the electronics of this bike, I think there is. Let me see if I can switch the camera mode. No, I'm not able to. So if you see these dots, right, are the fuel indicators. It's the whole instrument cluster is not digital except for this piece. It's very analog, very classic, very old school. Um, it's it's nice. It keeps the decorum of the bike. It maintains that vibe of the GT, the cafe racer, right? But the problem is when the fuel goes down to 2 bars and I put the bike on the stand and take it off. So the GT doesn't come with the center stand; it comes with the side stand, right? So when I park the vehicle when it's got 2 bars left and I put it back on top, the vehicle is it starts to blink on one knob. So it almost is like the fuel is on reserve. It doesn't have any other indicator saying that your fuel is really low except for the blinking single bar. And that just happens when you push the bike onto the stand and bring it back up, and it starts to blink on a single digit indicator. So it's really weird because I'm not able to understand how much of fuel my bike is left with, and I keep tanking it. And sometimes I fill about 7 liters, and sometimes I fill about 8 liters, and sometimes I fill about 5 liters. So I don't really honestly know how much of fuel is left on my bike when it comes down to the last two knobs. So that's very inconvenient considering the fact that there is a fuel meter that's not able to accurately judge the quantity left on the fuel tank, quantity of fuel. So that's that. Apart from that, the silencers, they're amazing. They sound really nice. I'm just gonna fire it up for you here. Um, it sounds really nice, right? It's a little extended. So the silencer is a little extended to the from the back. If you can see, it juts out of the bike. But the problem there is, again, when you're on bumper to bumper, man, in Bangalore, it is such a pain in the wrong place because you have every Tom, Dick, Harry, and everybody else not realizing that the silencer actually juts out and they scratch it. and it's so annoying because they scratch it, they apologize, and there's nothing much you can do. And these silencers, man, they're chrome, right? So they come up with, you see the scratches here, 1 2 3 4 5. It's on the other side as well. There you go. Look at all this. It's just ridiculous. This happens in the traffic, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think Bangalore is just getting packed and packed. So when you're in a bumper to bumper, please ensure you're behind the car and you stay behind the car till you move past the jam. If not, we'll have a lot of people actually literally riding on your feet and bumping into your bike. Apart from this, it's been giving me some decent mileage for a twin cylinder 650. It shows about, so on the highway from bunk to bunk. So I fill up, auto stop, get onto the highway, 1 2 3 4 5 6, cruise to the next bunk, stop, refuel, and I calculate, and I was getting about 32, which is amazing, with the RPM being at around 3 and a half, cruising at about 100 speed. It's amazing. I couldn't believe it, right? So 32 was the top that it gave me, and the least is about 18. That's if you rev the engine, if you redline the RPM at, I think it redlines at 7.5. It's locked after that. So if you redline it and ride it around, it would give you around 18 to 19, something on those lines. It hasn't gone below. So that's that. The fuel gauge and the fact that it's a little wide is the only. The silencers are a little wide is the only thing that's a big concern. Now, in terms of torque, okay, so I don't know what bike to compare it with, right? Obviously, you can't compare it with an inline 4 650 like the Ninja or the ER6N or any other inline 3s, inline 4s. So I basically took the most common bike that's got the biggest torque, the Duke 390. I test rode it with the new one and also with the old one. The Dukes, the 390s especially, they've got some flatlining torque. It's just, it's unbelievable for the kind of cubic centimeter the engine capacity has. So yes, so on first gear, the Duke has a jump start. Second gear, it's the same. When the Duke flatlines on the second gear and you switch to the third gear is when this bike pulls on second, beats it, never stops. So from there on, I think I've done about 182, 183 to be precise on this bike. I didn't want to push it too much, it's still quite new. So that's one stretch that I did on one of the highways. Very smooth, the braking is so sweet, it would stop. So there was a couple of instances where, we have some brilliant riders in the city who just come right in between. It stops, the bike actually stops. So the dual channel ABS works, brilliant, and it's outstanding. The slipper clutch, the ABS, the twin cylinder, overall I think this bike has been amazing. I would say it goes a little above the expectations, but again I still stand with saying that for a Royal Enfield bike, for the fact that this bike was manufactured by Royal Enfield, I would give this a 10 on 10. But for a bike in the market for 3.5 lakhs for its money's worth, I would give it a 10 on 10. But if I were to rate this bike on today's models, on based on the technology and in terms of safety and everything, I would give it about an 8.5 out of 10. Because the next best thing that you can compare to this bike standing here, or something that's as close as a comparison that I can make, is the Triumph, and those bikes are like 8.5 lakhs on road. So I think this is going to give them a run for their money. It's amazing. I think I was lucky enough to get the delivery in a week. So so I'm test riding it. I was supposed to do some vlogs. I just have no time for it. So here's this. So this is what it is. I am the owner of a Royal Enfield Continental GT, and that's an additional piece, by the way. And I can tell you that this bike is one hell of a ride, and it definitely draws attention. Unnecessary. It is comfortable. It catches up with the big bikes on Indian streets. So when I was on a Sunday morning ride, there were like inline 4s, the R1s, the R6s, the GS 1000s, the Suzukis, and the Kawasaki Z800, Z900, Z1000. So when these guys are on the straight stretch, obviously they go past. But then when they slow down and they twist and turn, this bike is a lot easier to flick in the traffic. in between traffic, which is not advisable, but maneuverability is amazing. So it kind of catches up at about till about 170, 175. It caught up. You can do rides with this bike along with the big ones. There's no doubt about that. Having said that, I will see if I've missed out anything, and I will come up with another video. If you guys like it, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want more updates on the bike, please feel free to shoot or reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to explain it for you. If you're planning to buy a bike and your budget's about 3.5, I think based on your kind of riding style, choosing between the GT and the Interceptor would be a really smart choice. Alright, that's it. Once again, my name is Emmanuel Paul, the proud owner of a Royal Enfield Continental GT Twin. Signing off.